Near mint condition, the home of collected editions. And check out that eye, that's exactly what we want to see. Woo, look at that panel, baby. And that, as they say, is that. Thundercats! The Classic Years Collection Omnibus! That's right, I did it. This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. Today I'm going to give you an advanced look at this collection from Dynamite. So, let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. Before going any further, a big thank you to Dynamite Entertainment for sending us a copy of this omnibus. This is a very early look because this collection is due out in the retail market and book market on January 7th. But dates are always subject to change, so that is something to keep in mind. This is the book that a lot of people actually kickstarted. Although the Kickstarter came with a bunch of bells and whistles, signature cards, and other goodies too, like single issues. But this is the hardcover, and there's also going to be 2 trade paperbacks that make up this big collection. So Classic Years Collections Volumes 1 and 2 make up this big collection here. You have the Dynamite logo right there, Thundercats Classic Years Collection, Lion-O down there. It's a different image than the ones over here. And then let's look at the backs of the books, because this is celebrating 4 decades of Thundercats. And the back of this one here. And then, of course, the back of this book. Same thing, celebrating 4 decades of Thundercats, which is just crazy to think about. Little bit about the stories collected in here, and then the ISBN. The retail price on this book is $124.99. Now, this is a bigger format than a regular omnibus. It's weird to say a regular omnibus because to me, omnis are just so big. But yes, this is the size of it, so it is taller and longer than an omnibus. And to give you an idea of what it's like here, let's actually compare the spines of the books, so you can just see how much taller it is compared to that omnibus. Here it is compared to the size of an absolute edition. Now, of course, this is in the slipcase, so out of the slipcase, it is still just a little bit taller. Not sure if you can see that. However, the Thundercats omnibus is longer. And that's, of course, a comparison to the different formats. Now, these trade paperbacks are just the trim size of trade paperbacks, just other trade paperbacks. So it's the trim size of single issues. So kind of gives you an idea. Okay, let's actually go ahead and open up this omnibus and talk about the type of stories found in here, what's collected, the extras, and of course a quick comparison to the trades. Okay, let's get this big book opened. Loving the end sheets here. This is the actual, oh, it's like almost double end sheets. But yeah, these are the actual covers here to the comic books. And then you have your title page, Thundercats Classic Years Collection. Dynamite! It's mumm-ra! Oh wait, that was Snarf. No, I'm not even gonna try. Thundercats! Ho! And then over here is a wonderful, wonderful introduction by Larry Kenney, who of course did the voice of Lion-O. It's something that when I had the pleasure of interviewing Peter Cullen years ago, I always love asking voice actors, do they mess with the kids at the toy aisle? And it was something that he did. And it was funny because the kids are like, that guy doesn't even sound like Lion-O. Love that introduction. Then you have this right here. This is a forward by Mike Carlin, who of course was the editor at the time of the book. But what he really wants to talk about is how the Thundercats show was produced by Rankin Bass, known for, of course, their big holiday specials like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman, amongst other stuff. And one of the things comes full circle later on as to what he got to see. I love this wonderful forward here, just talking about the memories of putting this together with the wonderful talent and how it all got started all the way back in the 80s. Here is your table of, or now, I'm sorry, this is the credits. You have the writers like David Michelinie, Jerry Conway, Tom DeFalco, pencils like Jim Mooney, Jose Delbo, Ernie Colon, Dwayne Turner, inkers like Brett Breeding and Kim DeMiller, and also Al Gordon, Mary Severin, letters over there like Janice Chang and Diana Albers, colorists like Petra Scatesi and Nelson Yomtov, and then of course the editors at the time when the book started, and the editors now and the people behind the project. Collector's item, first issue. So this is collecting Thundercats 1 through 24. It is basically the Marvel era, or otherwise known as the Star imprint is what they used. The book has a total of 592 pages. And again, it's due out in the direct market and book market on January 7th. Now, that is, of course, the date that we have. Hopefully, there won't be any delays. Every issue is like this. You get the cover in a frame, and the frame is panels, of course, from the comic book. And then you actually get this over here, issue 1. This is pretty cool. It's like a blow-up or a blown-up image, and then panels from the very issue you're about to read. You get all the credits within the issue. David Michelinie, for example, Jim Mooney, Brett Breeding, Janice Chang, and Petra Scotese. Now, this is the cover to the... I think they're doing a direct market cover. This is the regular cover. Regardless, both covers are at Dynamite. If you want to make sure you're going to pre-order, I'll put the link in the description of the video where you can also purchase it from, just in case people want to make sure they grab it and they get the cover they want before, you know. Well, all right, Thundercats. What in the world is this collection about? We're talking about books that originated back in 1985, and they've had a long success of cartoon comic books, right? We had Transformers, we had G.I. Joe, we had the success of ROM, and Micronauts, which didn't even have cartoons. That was their story. So they wanted to do something new to kick off this star line. So we had this, and we had He-Man. But Thundercats was a very, very special, near and dear to my heart story. I love this cartoon. I will go ahead and tell you, in case you're wondering about the stories in here, there are adaptations of the episodes. They came out, as a matter of fact. We'll look at the first one here. Look at the first couple to kind of give you an idea. And then there's original stories in here. There's original characters that show up through this very book. So the story begins with a ship that is fleeing from this dying world. The dying world is, of course, Thundera. Are these cats naked? Sort of. That always bothered people in the cartoon. It never bothered me. I just like to think maybe they're just wearing their long johns. Doesn't matter. The Thunderians are escaping Thundera. So this is their planet dying, and then their ships are attacked by mutants from the planet Plundar. So destroying most of the ships from Thundera that are trying to escape, and then damaging the primary ship. Jaga decides, this is Jaga by the way, that he will pilot the ship alone while the others rest in a state of suspended animation. So in this very few pages, we get to know pretty much what's happening. You have a dying planet. The inhabitants of the planet are trying to leave peacefully, but here comes some mutant jerks. So you are introduced to characters like Tigra, Panthro, Wily Kit, Wily Cat, Chitara, and a young boy named Lion-O. Now, if you're familiar with Thundercats, you're probably wondering, wait a minute, why is Lion-O a child? Oh yeah, and Snarf. How did I forget about Snarf? That is all explained. Exactly the same thing happened in the actual TV show. And then you get to see Munkin here, the mutants, Jackalman, and Slythe. And they all have different, people. You have the Reptilians, led by Slythe, Munkians, which are led by Munkian, and Jackalman. And you all are really smart, so you can probably guess who leads the Jackalman. That's right. All right. So they crash land. They end up crash landing on a planet called Third Earth. And the Thundercats end up surviving. When Lion-O awakens from his space pod, his escape pod, He's a grown man. He is no longer a child. As a matter of fact, he's like, I don't need toys anymore. He just shucks his teddy bear away. Meanwhile, Snarf's like, who the hell are you? Okay, he didn't quite say that. This is a kid's adaptation. As a matter of fact, yeah, this comic book does kind of try to cross the line a few times when it comes to some of the violence. For a comic book that is based on the cartoon, Jaga becomes kind of like the Obi-Wan Kenobi. He is a ghost now, but he leads Lionel. Lionel talks to him, and of course he ends up getting a few weapons, and one of them being the Sword of Omens. And this sword is kind of like a call for help to the rest of the Thundercats. And that's where the intro, one of the most greatest songs of the 80s, comes from that intro where he's like, thunder, thunder, Thundercats. That actually happens, like the sword grows. At the very end of the issue, we meet another villain that lives here. He's an inhabitant of the Third Earth. And that is none other than this guy right here, Mumm-ra. Now, the mutants don't know exactly who he is, but he's the mummified version of this guy. So we move on to the second issue, and I promise I'm not going to go through each and every single one of these issues. I kind of just want to give you an idea as to what is new and what is introduced through here. So in the second issue, it starts off with the Thunder Tank going out of control, and then Tigra ends up saving one of these Robears. So that is Robear Bill making his first comic appearance with Robear Bell. Hope Super 7 makes a toy of that Robear Bell. So as you can see, some of the stuff has been adapted from the actual cartoon. This is the character of Tessa. This is kind of like a really cool Panthro solo story. It's when you get to issue number 4 that you start seeing, oh, wait, this is a little bit different. This is things that we haven't really seen in the cartoon. And wait a second, there's actually no toy of this character. So in this issue right here, we get this character named Linksana, who is a bit of a bounty hunter. And she sticks around for quite a while. She sticks around for the next few issues of the Thundercats. But there was no toy of her, right? And she is a Thunderian bounty hunter. And she was at one time a Thundercat. So she is now here on Earth, or Third Earth. How exactly did she get here? And what is her end goal? What does she want with these Thundercats? And I'm just going to flip through here. I will go ahead and tell you, for the people that are fans like myself of characters like Lynx or Bengali, those characters don't actually show up through here. There's a couple of characters that don't make it, but then surprisingly other characters make it through here. You have different artists, of course, and different writers, and doing their interpretation of the characters while staying true to the cartoon. The Vulture Men show up through here. So they do have a bunch of characters that show up. Safari Joe shows up through here. That was a big surprise because I didn't think we would see him, considering this went from 1985 to 1988. And the stories had to be written and approved way ahead of time. But there are, yeah, there he is right there. There are some surprising guest stars that happen through here, and a lot of Easter eggs if you are familiar with the Thundercats cartoon. This, like a lot of the comics of their time, if you read like the He-Man comic books of their time, really are a trip down memory lane. These are full of nostalgia. And even if you haven't read these, but you're a fan of the comic books, these will open up a lot of memories. So I love adaptations like this. And also, you know, the original stories that are told through here. Lots of fighting with, of course, Mumm-ra. We get characters in here from a couple, the first 2 seasons. Like, we also get Pum-ra right here, who has his own secrets that I do not want to spoil in case people haven't read it before. And lots of new allies that show up. And, of course, a lot of different enemies through these pages. Now, I will be doing a comparison here to there's Vulture Man trades. But first, we saw what was at the beginning. What exactly is in the back? Do we have any kinds of extras? Because after issue 24, we get this. It's a pinup page. And it's from issue number 20 right here by Ernie Colon. Huge fan of that guy's artwork. And then we get ads for, of course, the new Thundercats series, including the Chitara miniseries, and that's pretty much it. So let's look at the binding of this book. 592 pages. It is sewn binding, although we do have a flat spine. And the artwork looks like it has been cleaned up some, believe it or not, even though it might look like it's messy because some people probably compare this to something like the Marvel Masterworks where they do a complete art restoration. But it does look like the artwork was cleaned up some. And it is printed in a thick, glossy paper stock too. Sometimes the paper stock could show a few of the mistakes more so than something like matte paper. But what I want to do is compare it to this. Now, of course, we know the size. This is the size of a regular edition. So in here, you do get the Larry Kenny intro, but you don't get the Mike Carlin introduction. That doesn't actually happen until the second book. Now, do you get the extras like you did in... Nope, you just jump to the ads. What about here? Do you get the extra pinups? Let's see. Nope, just the ads. Okay, so the extra pinup is exclusive to this. Okay, let's look at this first issue. First of all, the cover. Of course, ignore the size, please, because we already know that this is bigger. This is printed in glossy paper stock, as is the Omnibus, and this will give you an idea. This is closer, of course, to the dimensions that it was originally printed in, and this, of course, is oversized. Now, the trade paperbacks are both $49.99 each, and honestly, the colors, or at least the absorption of the colors and the blacks, look very similar. I don't really see a difference other than the size. Although you do get a little bigger border here than you do over here. I wonder why that is. This almost goes almost full bleed, but you know, you can't with art like this. Yeah, it's like you get bigger borders over here than over here. But you can definitely tell that's a big size difference. And again, let's look at one more page. Kind of gives you an idea just the differences. The mistakes are easier to tell over here because, again, it's bigger than over here. But that is it. That's what Thundercats is. That's what this collection is, the Star era. Will they make any more? Will they make the Wildstorm era? I don't know yet. We know we have this, and we have the new ongoing series by Declan Shalvey, which has been amazing, and also spin-offs like Chitara and Silverhawks. But who knows, maybe one day we'll get more collections like the Wildstorm era or other eras of Thundercats. But as of right now, that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltzcomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more.
And that was the content, the page count, and build of this collection. In the comments down below, let me know if you're a fan of Thundercats and you plan on picking this up, if you didn't even know this collection was coming out or available, and of course, if you've read it, what you think of this era. And if you are picking it up, are you going to get the classic cover by Jim Mooney, or are you going to get the Declan Shalvey cover here? But that is it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Smash that like button on the way out. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.